Good afternoon, ma'am.
Good afternoon. Good afternoon.
Okay, good afternoon to one and all. I am Ms. Karishma Savarikar on behalf of Department of Microbiology and Biotechnology Department of Patkar-Varde College. Warmly welcome you all for this intercollegiate webinar on patenting in biological science. Department of Microbiology and Biotechnology of Patkar-Varde College every year organize different intercollegiate activities. It is a step taken by Department of Microbiology and Biotechnology Department to provide a platform to research scholars, teachers, and experts from various fields of science and technology for academic interaction, elevations, and enrichment via such activities. It has also taken initiative in helping students in extending their mind to diverse fields available in biological science. Today, we came ahead with the topic of patenting in biological material. A biological patent is a patent on an invention in the field of biology that, by law, allow the patent holder to exclude other from making, using, selling, or importing the invention for a limited period of time. Patent protection for invention involving living being or their component is highly controversial. Among other reasons, this is due to bioethical implication involved in granting a holder an exclusive exploitation right over something that actually already exists in nature and that may even belong to subject from which the biological sample that gave rise to invention was about. As a result, and due to high number of development in the field which have been growing, all patent law around the world have been compiled including a specific provision law related to biological material that regulate which may or may not be protected by the patent and how it has been done. So in today's webinar, we will cover on patenting of such biological material. So I extend a warm welcome to our speaker for today's webinar, who would enlighten us on this particular topic. Before that, I would like to introduce you all to our speaker, Professor Gauri Gargate. Ma'am has pursued PhD in IIT Bombay. She has been a gold medalist in LM and MSc Industrial Microbiology. Ma'am is registered patent agent. Ma'am had pursued PhD in IPR at IIT Bombay. Ma'am's specific area of interest are IP management of an organization, technology traffic, technology transfer, IPR cell system, development by academic organization and its management, entrepreneurship and IP audit, valuations, analytic, policy and legal issues related to IP. Ma'am has created two NPTEL course which is available on Swayam platform. That is Roadmap for Patent Creation and second one is Entrepreneurship and IP Strategy. Ma'am has published her research work in reputed international journals and presented research papers in various international conferences. She has also worked as a guest co-editor for ABDC Rank Journal. As an IP researcher, she has developed various tools and model for IP management. So it is an honor to have you, ma'am, with us. Welcome you, ma'am, for this webinar. Before we begin with the webinar, a few instructions to the participant. I request all the participants kindly be patient if any technical problem arise during the webinar. We will try to resolve the technical glitches. Okay, kindly mute the audio and video for smooth conductance of the session. Post questions or your doubts in the chat box. At the end of the session, we will try to answer those particular questions. Ma'am, I request you to begin the session. Over to you, ma'am. Thank you.
Good afternoon.
Good afternoon, ma'am.
Thank you. Thank you for a nice introduction and thank you for the opportunity. So let me share my screen.
Yes, ma'am.
Yeah, I should select slides, right? And then in the slides, it goes into drive or something like that. What exactly? Screen? Share screen. Okay.
Ma'am, you can share entire screen.
Entire screen. Fine. Now
Yes, ma'am.
this. Yes, okay. Now I should take down this and then whether this is visible. The screen is visible.
Ma'am,
Patenting.
it is not presenting. No, it is not presenting, ma'am.
Okay, fine, fine. Hold on.
Ma'am, enter screen and you'll have to again select the dialog box in the center.
Window is also there, I guess. No? Right, hold
Yes, ma'am.
on.
Yes, your screen is now visible.
But I guess take it down, but I then I'm not able to see the chat
Yes, ma'am.
box.
You'll have to minimize and you can start your presentation, ma'am.
Okay, let me just see now if it is visible.
Yes, yes, it is visible now. Clearly visible.
Clearly visible. So I will not able to see the chat box actually side by side. Fine. Okay,
Ma'am,
no
we are
problem.
there. We are there.
Okay, fine. Very good. Okay. So good afternoon. I don't know how many participants are there, and I'm not able to look into this window. So good afternoon, everyone. I'm absolutely fine if you have any queries and you stop me in between. But as organizers have clearly mentioned, you have to put it into the chat box. You can put it into the chat box, and we can take it later also. Fine. So when we are talking about intellectual property patenting in biological sciences, I will just start with a few examples actually. We are pretty well aware about Lee Pasteur, and this is like our favorite, if especially we are microbiologists, this is our favorite scientist. And he has his contribution in, uh, yeah, fermenting beer and yeast. He has patented that thing. Just imagine 1873 yeast as an article of manufacture. That was the kind of a scenario. We are just still in 2022. We are learning what is a patent, and 1873 that patent was taken for the yeast actually as an article of manufacture. After that, Diamond Chakravarti case is there that to prove that yes, microorganisms are patentable. That landmark case is there. But see the scenario here. Then there is another example. It is in 1969 about a Swiss scientist, cyclosporin fungus, and that was also means a good example of a patent. Anand Chakravarti case, I have told you that that was a classic case, landmark case in a IP domain, especially I will say patent because Pseudomonas putida oilbug, he has patented that particular organism in 1980 actually, and that was Diamond versus Chakravarti case actually. So Diamond was the judge, and it was Anand Chakravarti, Dr. Anand Chakravarti, who fought that case. And he won the case. And after that, it's open for us as a microbiologist. That is, any microorganism, please remember this sentence, any microorganism, if there is a human intervention and we modify that microorganism and then it fits into the criteria of patent, that is patentable. And therefore, this Pseudomonas putida oilbug was a patented microorganism, and now it is the 20 years time is there, so it is not now. Its life is over, but the thing is open for us that yes, modified genetically modified microorganisms are definitely patentable. That is a one important thing. Now, there are almost like 2000, 1980 to 2000, 45,000 microorganisms are deposited. The meaning is like that. If I am developing a new microorganism, I have to deposit it into the two authorities are there in India. One is NCCS in Pune. It's very near to you now, Mumbai. Okay, and the second one is MTech Chandigarh. That is a CSIR lab, and by lyophilization technique and all that thing they keep preserving that strains of microorganisms whatever you are claiming. So when we go for a patenting of microorganism, we have to obviously deposit that sample in either of these two depositories, and then only your patent will be considered for examination, otherwise they will raise the query. Tech polymerase example is another good example of Dr. Mullis, and I can just share the revenue of that. You can see that this $300 million kind of a revenue was generated by Roche, and the further kind of the licensing and all that thing, $100 million per year. You can just imagine single patent can generate how much kind of revenue or wealth out of that particular thing. Now, this is another classic case of patenting. Can anybody try to name these researchers? Pretty well hint is there. Genentech is there. Some diagram is there. Diagrammatic representation is there. And two scientists are there. Anybody want to try who these scientists are? Yes? You can put it into the chat box, or maybe anybody want to try? No? Just a gauge? Should I give you the hint? Yes? You can write it in the chat box, I guess. That full liberty is there, I guess, if you are not able to unmute yourself. Can I know how many participants are there? Uh, uh, am I audible or not? Am I audible? I'm not getting any reply. So am I audible or not?
Hello, ma'am. You're audible. You're audible.
I'm
Your screen is also visible.
okay. How many students are there or
Ma'am,
participants are there?
Filal, for the time being, there are 41 participants who are who are watching us live.
Okay. Are we recording it?
Yes, ma'am. It is getting recorded also.
No, please don't record it. Please don't record it. Can you please stop recording of this? Can we stop the recording?
Hello, ma'am. It's a live broadcast.
Oh, it is a live broadcast. Okay. Oh,
Yes.
oh, it's going on on YouTube or where exactly?
Yes, yes, on YouTube, ma'am.
Okay. Okay, fine, fine. Okay, now. Mhm. Okay.
Ma'am, if we do not want, we can remove from the YouTube channel later on also.
Okay, okay, fine, no
Yeah. Okay, ma'am.
problem. Okay, fine. Okay. Okay. So, can anybody kind of share the who, if want to guess, those who participants are there? Can you please guess that this photograph is with scientists? Yes.
Ma'am, you can directly go on the presentation screen.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. I'm on the presentation screen.
Yes, yes, yes.
Yeah, yeah. But I'm just trying to get a response from the participants. That may I know if anybody want to try that? Who are these scientists? Whether participants can reply or not.
Hello, ma'am. It is visible. You can start your presentation.
No, 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 sir. I am trying to get a response from maybe.
Okay, okay.
Yeah, let me have an interactive session. I cannot go in one way. I'm a teacher. Okay. Yeah. So, anybody want to try? Somebody is a researchers in Vanmati, madam. Whether you want to try the Department of Botany? Yes. Should I give the hint? Who is this? It is something related to restriction endonucleases. Now somebody want to try? Who are these scientists? No? Oh, okay. So these are Cohen and Boyer. Our some landmark kind of discovery. Because of that, we are able to do the modify microorganisms. Actually, this is a landmark. And this until this invention was there, I should not say discovery. Unless until this invention was like not there, that restriction endonuclease, probably we would not have able to modify microorganisms. So this is a very landmark. Because of this, microorganisms are patentable, I will say. Now, this is a very classic case actually. Genetic case is a very classic case. So now what happened here? These are the two scientists, Cohen and Boyer. One is associated with the University of California, if I correctly remember, and another is a Stanford University. And the kind of activity which is they have research activity, they published in the journal. And thanks to American patent act, that there was a possibility that they can go for the um, patenting of this post publication also. And this patent was kind of published, and just see that one patent has helped to kind of develop a giant, that is a genetic. You know, the Google case also, page and brain, one patent, page ranking patent, and Google is such a well-known kind of giant, I will say. And same thing is with the genetic. Now it is in 1974. If you see, they have the kind of the area, the employees, and all that thing, the growth of that company. And recently, Roche has bought, and see the revenue, or see the kind of wealth which is created. That company was bought. The final tranche, I will say, it was of $46.8 billion. So the point I want to make is like that one patent is sufficient for to build up a kind of giant like that. One patent gives you lot many things actually. So it should be that that kind of any patent, if it is having that good commercial value, definitely it will give some or the other returns to the applicant. Now, uh, here the point which is I want to make is like that. Uh, we are academic institutes actually, and this is kind of a good news for academic institute, that academic institutions in US hold more gene patents than the top 25 pharmaceuticals. Rather, I will say that this is a good kind of a scenario, and considering the academic institutes, and we are holding these academic institutes are holding that gene patents, and definitely, obviously, they are most, especially see in a uh, association of university technology transfer officers is there, AUTM association is there, and these technology transfer officers are so active. Rather, I will say that this restriction endonuclease case, whatever we are saying, this is a kind of a classic example of how a technology officer of a kind of a, institute can contribute into the development of a patent and then the wealth actually, because professors were at all not aware about this particular thing. They were completely ignorant about it. Okay, so that is a scenario. Now, when we are talking about intellectual property, we are talking about a patent. But let us see a little bit about where exactly patent is in intellectual property, because many times we think that IP means patent. We don't have kind of a maybe awareness about or importance of other IPs. We many times ignore actually. We as a student also, I tell you that when we started our studies, mostly we were giving weightage to the patent, and other types of IPs we were like keeping less weightage. And then eventually, when we go study further, we realize that every IP is important. It has its kind of every IP. When domain changes, IP changes, the weightage changes actually. So, for example, if we are in a technology, patent is definitely a major kind of a, IP, and the main kind of IP. But when we are in a film industry, copyright is the main. When we are in an academic sector, our copyright IP is the most important IP, and maybe we may not be aware that yes, copyright is so important. And I just give you a simple example of a copyright so that you can appreciate that along with patent, we should keep kind of as an academic institute, we also should kind of keep watch and try to kind of protect. Copyright is by default, but how exactly we can go for the wealth creation of that copyright? I can give you the example of a J.K. Rowling. It's a very great example actually, that her series, that Harry Potter series, we know that she has earned something around 1.05 billion dollars out of that particular activity. So, or Michael Jackson, this is a very classic example. I feel that the creation, whatever he has done, post his kind of a demise, now his family every year is getting something around $8 million. So, the point I want to make is that if this is the scenario, how um, important IP is actually. Now, when we are talking about intellectual property types, there is a intellectual property and intellectual capital. We will not go in details of a capital, but this is something like types of intellectual property are there. That industrial property is there, and then the copyright, protection of plant varieties, traditional knowledge is there. And in that, I will say that when we say the industrial property, patent is there, trademark is there, industrial design, layout design of integrated circuit, geographical indication, trade secret. These are the kind of different types of IPs are there. There is a product patent and there is a process patent actually. Trademark is another important type of IP we have to kind of keep use it actually. Just one example I will give, and then we will move and focus on a patent. Google valuation of trademark is 50 plus billion dollars. So this is good enough to get the idea that how valuable that intellectual property is. And these are the different kinds of acts which are enacted to protect the intellectual property. Now, it was said that I should say something about patent informatics. It was suggested, so I'm just giving you a little bit idea about a patent informatics. That when we are talking about a patent informatics here, uh, just to give you the idea, this patent informatics thing is nothing but a patent analytics actually. So when we say the patent analytics, it is like a we are searching through the patent documents. Now, can you gauge? I don't know whether you are able to answer because I'm not seeing that facility. That how many patents probably might be there in the world now at present? Patent documents. We are not keeping track of research papers and all that thing, but patent track is always there because it is documented. Numbers are given and all that thing. And respective patent office, every country have only one patent office, and they are keeping track of that, so we know the number of a patent. So if anybody have any idea, please just put it into the chat box that how many patent documents probably might be there at present. Anybody want to try? No? So if you see, there are almost 130 million plus kind of patent documents are available, and these documents actually are publicly available. Now, how we can use that documents actually? So here, when we are talking about a patent document, we can use it to, when you go through, it is said that 70% of the knowledge is there into the patent document, which is not published anywhere. So this is kind of this is kind of I will say the benefit of a patent, that uh, um, you will get the up to date knowledge of that particular area. Now, this why it is useful actually, because once you know what is there in patent, because in research paper you will not get that particular details and kind of up to date knowledge. Patent is kind of up to date, because that research, the research activity and patenting activity, especially in organizations, it goes a side by side kind of a scenario is there. Now, the patent, when we are talking about, it is a kind of a exclusive right. When we say patent, it is an exclusive right. Now this exclusive right is given by a sovereign of a state. Now I'm just focusing on patent actually. I don't know whether you have got the chance to go through any patent document. What I will suggest you now to go through the eSpaceNet. I will just write down in the chat box that what is that site actually. You just go through the eSpaceNet and try to put the keywords, and by using that keywords, try to retrieve the patent which in your domain, and just try your this thing, that open that and try to read that if you have not given a try to go through the patent document. And this patent document, when you kind of go through, you will find that on the first page there is a information about the bibliographic information is there. All details are there about the applicant or assignee is one and the same, then the inventor. So all details are there. And in the title is there, and the abstract is there, all this there. All these things are there. Please remember, patent is an exclusive right. Now, when we say exclusive right, what is the meaning of that particular thing? So once I will have a patent, I can exclude others from using that particular technology. So it is an exclusive right. Sovereign of a state is given me the right. So it is a territorial right. So if I want a patent protection in India, I will file it in Indian Patent Office. If I want a patent protection in USA, I'm going to file it in a US Patent Office. So it is a right given by a sovereign of a state. Okay. Now, next is like the owner of an invention gets that right. Okay. For what? For make, sale, use, and manufacture the invention, and that is upon the complete disclosure of the invention. Okay. And there are certain criterias which are kind of followed or required for that patent document, patent to be qualified. So what are that criteria? The criteria are novelty, non-obviousness, and industrial applicability. So for example, suppose you develop some in biology, as a microbiologist or biotechnologist, suppose you develop some technology. So we have to check whether novelty aspect is there. What is the meaning of novelty aspect? Novelty aspect is that whether you are the first to develop that particular thing, or somebody else have already invented that particular thing. How will you come to know about that? You have to go through that eSpaceNet. Therefore, I have written the name. There you just, whenever you will get time, just browse through that. Many of you might have gone through that database. And we have to check that if anything nearby of our invention is there or not. There are again paid databases are there which are much more kind of easier to use and easier to retrieve the kind of required patent documents. It is very easy to retrieve the required documents. Now, what happens that uh, when we are talking about a novelty aspect, it is not specific to India. That is one misconception actually. Many people think that, okay, if that patent is in US, I will copy it and I will put it in our Indian patent office and I will try to get the patent for that. No, this is not possible. Patent is like novelty check is all over the world actually. So that invention must be first time in the world. So if it is in the first time in the world, then only what will happen? You will pass that criteria of novelty. Second criteria, it non-obviousness. What is the criteria? What is the meaning of non-obviousness? Suppose I am a microbiologist and you are a microbiologist. Both are working in some domain, and you shared your invention with me, and then I feel, oh, it's a simple kind of a thing is there. I also could have done that thing. Okay, and then there is another scenario that somebody shares that invention. Oh, I have not thought, you have thought it. So something like that kind of reaction comes in your mind. Okay, or you will say that, oh, this is so complicated. I have never thought of. I could not have solved this. If suppose that kind of a scenario is there. And who is saying that? The person who is working in that particular domain, expert in that domain. So that endorsement is necessary, and there are criteria, there are guidelines for that particular thing. Some parameters are given, and based on that parameters, the examination is done. That whether it is obvious or whether it is a non-obvious. Okay. Now the next is like a industrial application. Now industrial applicability is something um, easily you can gauge that in industrial applicability, you are kind of easily gauge that whether my invention will give something to the society. Okay, some product or some process. You have to check that thing, and if it is that, then that we will say that three criteria are qualified. Now you will say that what is a once I filed a patent, it is lifetime with me. The answer is no. There is a limit. Now what is that limit? When we are doing that patenting activity, once you file that patent, it is the life of that patent is a 20 years. Okay, so the life is for a 20 years. Now next is here the next thing is like about the parts of a patent document. So what are the parts of a patent document? When I say the parts of a patent document, the things are like there is a title. So when you see a patent document, see, when we are doing a research kind of a document, we have a very defined structure of a research document. What is that research document structure? There is a abstract, keywords are there, introduction, literature review is there, research objectives or research methodology you have shared. Then there is a material method, depends on what data collection, analysis, whatever that your mode of domain of your research is there. And then the kind of discussion, and then you are giving the discussion result and you are giving the conclusion and then references. So this is a very standard format we are very well aware about. What about a patent? What is a patent having? What kind of a structure patent is having? So it is like that. That first is always a title. So if you open the patent document, you just see that there is a title. Okay. So what title? Title is generally, there are rules actually when drafting rules are there, that it should not be more than 15 words and all that thing. Okay. So title gives whether it gives a real idea, answer is no. Title never gives you the clear idea about a patent, because generally when we draft a patent, we make sure that you will not able to easily kind of pick up our patent, because we don't want you to pick up that patent easily. Research paper, what we will do, we will explicitly explain everything and all that thing, because we want everybody to read our research paper, and we are expecting for open access and all that thing. Whether we are doing it in patent, no, we don't want anybody to see our patent. So our responsibility as a patent expert is like that. When we will draft the patent, what we will do, we will kind of make sure that the title is like the way that somebody put that certain keyword, it should not come, it should not be displayed, that hit will not be there. Okay, so that is the case. So that is about a title. Now next is a field of invention. Now what is a field of invention? Wherever area. Now we are working in a life sciences area, so we will say that this patent is related to microbiology, especially, and then you can give a little bit about again the subdomain of where exactly that particular working is there. Next is like a background. So just like a literature review, when you do the background, a literature review, you are in research paper, we are giving a background, that literature review details, the past papers. Similarly, here you can you try to put here the background, like what already is there in that particular domain. Okay, so that case is there. That is a background part is there, and then the next part is like figures, description of figure is there. A figure part is there. What is the object of invention? So object of invention is there. Summary of invention is there. That is a, we are giving the details. In short, we are writing the summary of that invention. Then there is a description part. So here in the description part, we will explain in detail the invention actually. And then obviously for that, we will take a help of a drawings if it is possible. So there is a figures attached to that, and then we will give the details according to that figure actually. Then the next is kind of examples. If I could able to give an example of a best practice, because in chemistry or in some experiments, biotechnology experiment, if we are using some combination and all that thing, or some formulation, suppose if we are creating in somewhere in that may be a medicinal value and all that thing. So we have to give the best kind of examples of that. And if it is a kind of a practice related, something like a best practices related to that and all that thing, we have to give that. Some data, if substantiate the thing, we have to give that, because that helps us to claim, put claim, whatever you are going to put it into the actually claim part. And the last part now is a claim part. Now claim, we call it as a heart of a patent, because your legal rights are determined by the claim. So when writing claim, we have to be very careful that whatever we have disclosed earlier, we bring it and we will write it into the claim format actually. And in the claim, uh, we will define our boundary. What is my patent is about? I will clarify that particular thing there. Okay, so this is a kind of a little bit about the structure of a patent. Okay, so this criteria is there, this definition is there, and this is a patent informatics. Actually, there are so many domains are there in the patent. We are having patent informatics is a one small domain. We have kind of a IP valuation is there, IP auditing is there, IP policy is there, then cross licensing is there, technology transfer is there, and intellectual property actually. So so many kind of a detailed domains are the domains are there. They themselves are a big kind of subjects actually. And patent informatics is one of small subject in our IP field, and definitely the patent analytics help us. So that I have already covered, and I have given you the idea about the acts, the different types of IPs, and then the kind of the examples actually of Genentech. I have given you the example of Anand Chakrabarti, Dr. Mules, Bashar. Now I take a pause here and let me know if you have any queries or something like that, because unless until I will get whether I am able to convey the things, that will be good. Once I know that, then I will move further. Whether it is okay, which deal with the extending the duration of patent. Okay, yes, there is no kind of no possibility actually to extend patent in India. That we call it as a evergreening of a patent, which is not allowed in India. Okay, our Indian section 3 does not allow that thing. Okay, that is the scenario. So every IP is except trademark, every IP have a limited life. So patent have only 20 years left. Anywhere in the world you go, it is a 20 years. That is the scenario. Okay. Anything else is there? Whatever I have just shared, everybody is okay with that? If we are on that same page, I will move further.
Ma'am, you can move further.
Okay. Now, what are the inventions which are not patentable? Okay. Now, there is a section 3 and section 4 in Indian Patent Act, which talks about the inventions which are not patentable. So, what are them? So, first thing, that if it is against public order, obviously, if it is a frivolous, it is not allowed. Then if it is kind of a mere admixture in chemistry, they clearly say mere admixture, that is not allowed. Second use is not allowed as a patent, means pay for a patent. So for example, aspirin, this is a very classic and everybody gives that example of aspirin, that this was like a blood thinning, that blood thinning was its use, which we come to know later, but that is kind of not allowed to patent. So new use of a known substance. This is a statement which this is a clause which is that new use of a known substance is not patentable. Okay, so that is the case. Now, a mere arrangement and rearrangement of molecules is not allowed. So, what is the meaning of that? Benzene ring is there, chlorine is replaced by bromine, bromine is replaced by fluorine. Okay, so in that same kind of type, if we do that mere replacement and all that thing, and no any kind of major change is happening, that is not patentable. Okay, so that is the case. Now, little bit further, the important thing, like the software per se is not patentable. Okay, fine, that is okay, but that per se is very important. There are separate guidelines for a software patenting. That is the case. Now we will come to the very stringent kind of rules of our section 3. Horticulture, plant, environment related, if something is which damaging environment, but especially plant and plant parts, horticulture related activity, surgery and the method of surgery, the human kind of uh, related anything, microorganisms as it is, are not patentable. Okay, so we have to remember, and therefore we have a, for plant breeders who are putting their efforts, there is a separate act, that is a Protection of Plant Varieties and Farmers Right Act. It's a separate act there, so which will take care of that particular thing. In USA, there is a plant patent, so that is the difference we have to remember. Huh? In horticultural related activity, you go for a plant patenting in USA. In India, it is not allowed. Huh? Then next is kind of a microorganisms. Human intervention is there, that is allowed. Directly, as a microbiologist, I have isolation methods. We have so many isolation methods we follow, huh? And we isolate. And then isolation will give you microorganisms. That is already there. You come to know now. It is called as a discovery, and discovery is not a patentable. And we know that something like that happened. Na? That planet is already there, and that astrophysicist and all that thing, they will say that, oh, I discovered planet, so this is my property. Not possible. So the thing is like that, we have to remember that discoveries are not patentable. So similarly, because of that, only microorganisms through special isolation technique you discover, that is not patentable. We have to remember that. Right. So this is something about the inventions which are not patentable. One more section, that is a section 4, talks about inventions not patentable, where if it is something related to defense related, and defense related secrecy directions are there. So if that defense related any inventions are there, that inventions are not patentable. So what happened? These BARC or ISRO or DRDO, these government organizations, if they are developing something which is a defense related things are there, when it come to the patent office, obviously patent office will seek advice from Ministry of Defense, and that clearance is necessary. Now one more point I will clarify. Biodiversity Act is another important act which is uh, we have to remember when we are dealing with a patent. Why? Because when we are using any biological resources, we have to kind of give the certification from the biodiversity board. So previously I have told you that if you develop some microorganism, you have to deposit in a authority, that NCCS or MTech, Chandigarh, and mandatory, otherwise you will not get patent. If you are something talking about a gene sequence and all that thing, you have to give that full gene sequence, uh, mandatory. uh, if we are using a biological resources, natural resources, certification, the clearance from biodiversity board, mandatory. Okay, so please remember these points. Okay, so that is about the inventions, not patentable. Now this is something I feel that this is a very important, that then what you can patent actually. So fermented material, processes and methods for producing useful products, compositions, formulation, products such as vaccines, proteins, hormones, DNA sequencing methods, genetically microorganisms, stem cell research, the output related to that, gene therapy, and that the processes which are you are developing, if they are new, you can patent it. Diagnostic kits, this is something very important actually, that diagnostic kits we can do the protection of that particular thing. And yes, bioinformatics related thing, because if you are and obviously means it looks good, but you have to fit into the criteria of novelty, non-obviousness, and industrial applicability. Okay, that is mandatory, huh? So make sure of that particular thing. Now uh, here, now I will just focus on the patent filing procedure. Huh? So how it happens, that patent filing procedure. So suppose you are working in the college, or you are working in any lab, whatever it may be, or you are a private R&D employee, whatever it may be. Everybody have a procedure actually. So what that procedure is, so, for example, IP policy is there and procedures are there, especially wherever that systems are kind of streamlined, you will find that IP policy, uh, online system, and all that thing is there. What about us in the academic institute? Because when I see many academic institute, there is no IP policy, no kind of streamlined process. Institute is also means college is not aware about IP related activity and all that thing. Fine. So now what happened? Now just check this thing, how it works actually. So suppose you are working and you feel that yes, yes, this is something novel, this is non-obvious, it has industrial application, definitely it will go through or pass through the patent criteria. Okay. Then what will happen? Once you get that confidence, you can go for a provisional application. What is the meaning of provisional application? So you are going to file a patent application into the patent office. Where is the patent office? So you are now in Mumbai. In Mumbai, Antoff Hill patent office is there. Our means jurisdiction is fixed. If you are in a Mumbai, your patent office is Antoff Hill, Mumbai. Actually, I am seeing some participants are from Tamil Nadu, so your patent office is a Chennai patent office actually. Okay, so that is the scenario. So we have a 4 patent offices in the country: Delhi, Mumbai, Chennai, and Kolkata, and the jurisdiction is fixed. I am now in Kolkata. I cannot file patent in Mumbai unless I have a Mumbai address. Okay, so we have to keep the jurisdiction carefully. Now, once we file that patent application, that is a provisional application, we have to file within 12 months a complete specification. Now, provisional application is not mandatory actually. So you can file either a provisional application or directly you file a complete specification. Now, this complete specification, once you file actually, either it may be a 0.0 time for you, or you might have followed provisional after that complete, whatever it may be. Your patent will be published after 18 months. What is the meaning of that particular thing? Publish means what? So publish is like it will be published in the official gazette. Where is that official gazette? It is in the IP, it is hosted on the IP India website. So just browse in Google, just put IP India, and that site will open. And on IP India website, you can see the that uh, IP India website. There is a kind of a gazette is there. Now, when that publication is just there, just like you know that generally in film industry, which is a kind of a great creation of a copyright, they kind of launch their movies on Friday. That is very fixed thing. So similarly, in our patent office, it is very fixed that whatever patent is there, publication is fixed that it will be on the Friday. Okay, publication is on Friday. So every Friday, the gazette will be published, and in that, the whatever patents which are completed 18 months automatically published. You need not to worry about that thing. You may forget, patent office will never forget to publish your patent, okay? And that will be visible online to everyone. That is the case. Now, after publication, what will happen? That there will be the examination. And the examination the outcome of examination is a first examination report. Now, we call it as a FER actually. So, we say that FER is issued. So, I just try to relate it with our review process, paper review process, research paper. What we do, we complete our write-up and we submit that paper to the journal. And then what happens? Reviewers review that journal. So we are never aware about who is a reviewer, and we get a certain day the reviewers report. And then reviewers gives us suggestion that these are the kind of suggestions and all that thing. Accordingly, you modify that particular thing. Sometimes they reject the paper. Sometimes they will kind of accept immediately. The same thing is happening in the patent. So instead of reviewer, here the examiner is there. So, who is examiner? In the patent office, there are examiners who are expert in that particular domain. So, microbiology and biotechnology or life sciences related separate group of experts are there in the patent office, and these experts will examine the uh, applications that patent application. So they will examine that thing. Now, what examination they will do? The examination is for two types are there. Substantial examination is there. So what is that substantial examination? They will check novelty aspect, whether it is really new. That is important. Second thing, they will say non-obviousness. Third thing, they will see industrial applicability. Fourth thing, they will see section 3 compliance, whether it is not falling into section 3 category. That's section 3 of a patent act. And next is a section 4. So this is something a substantial thing, okay? Mandatory means a rigorous kind of a check will happen. And once that thing will happen, once that process will be completed, they will go for the next level of examination, which is a little bit like whether you have followed the format, whether you have kept the font size correctly, whether figures are correctly drawn as per the guidelines, whether the that deposition certificate is attached. Once you deposit a patent, that deposit your microorganism and all that thing in the depositories, you will get a certificate. So whether that certificate is attached, whether if biological resources there, whether that certificate from biodiversity board is attached, if genetic sequence is there, whether that genetic sequence is shared or not. So that kind of a thing is there. Then the kind of a way you have written, whether it is a standard way which is expected. If not, they will give you suggestions for that particular thing. So that minor kind of this is something minor I will say, because main crux is like that criteria, novelty, non-obviousness. Industrial applicability is there, you can easily judge that thing. Novelty aspect is little bit critical in a sense. We have to get that novelty clearance actually. Okay, so this examination will happen and then FER is issued. Okay, I received that FER. what we do in the research paper, when we receive that review report, we will kind of comply with that thing. We reply to that particular thing. We make a modifications and we give the details actually. Here in patent, you don't have a chance for a scope modification. Scope bilkul you can't change. Okay. Same thing generally we do in the publication, that review paper, that research paper. Scope never we change. We change the structure. We may add some data to substantiate our claim. We may kind of modify diagrams, make the kind of the deletion, all these things we do when we are doing the um, modifications actually, the reply to the reviewer. Same thing we have to do with the patent reply. We will see what that points examiner has given. They give us a 6 months. That is a timeline perfect. We have to follow timeline perfect. Huh? It's not like you will get 1 year and all that thing. No, no, 6 months. If in 6 months we will not able to complete and we will not kind of do that compliance and all that thing, your patent will not be. It will go into. It is already in the public domain, but you will never get grant for that patent. You will never get the right over that particular patent. Okay, so the point you have to make, point we have to make is that we have to kind of uh, give reply to that first examination report. Okay, you have given the reply to the first examination report. What will happen? That examiner will re-review that thing, just like a re-reviewing process of our research paper. Now, what will happen after that re-review and all that thing? He will check that whether everything is addressed properly or not. Now, if that thing is not addressed properly, what will happen? Another query will be raised. So examiner can send you another kind of a communication that okay, out of 10 queries, you 5 queries to ho gaya, remaining 5 ka you have to give the explanation. So that there is a standard format actually. So in that standard format, that reply will come from, means query will come from the patent office. Now you will comply with that all things, and then you will submit that thing. That will be the case. Or another case will be based on your reply, directly he will kind of give the hearing notice actually to you. That we can have a hearing. Hearing is like that, one-to-one interaction with the examiner. And nowadays everything is online only. You need not to go to patent office, and you have to kind of communicate with the examiner and give the answers to that particular questions. That is it. Now, what will happen that you may give the correct in the sense the right kind of the queries whatever are there, that will be kind of the sufficient explanation is given, so that the process, that the criteria and all the process will be completed. Now, what will happen if everything is fine? Your patent will be granted. If you will not able to complete that particular thing, and some queries like on novelty aspect and all that thing, you will not able to prove, your patent will not be granted. So that is the case actually. Now, next is what um, after that patent is granted. Is there anything else? Yes, it is there. Uh, you are giving a property tax. No, this is now for your property. Patent is our property now. If any flat and all that thing we brought, what we do, we give every year the property tax to the government. Same thing we have to do with the patent. Once you get a grant of the patent, maintenance cost we have to give. So every year there is a maintenance fee, and we have to give that maintenance fee to the government, and for that next up to 20 years we have to give that maintenance fee. You will say, if I will not give maintenance fee, what will happen? Your patent will go into the public domain. You will not execute rights over that patent. That is the thing. Okay. So maintenance fee is another kind of a thing which is there when we are talking about this patent. So this is a timeline. Generally in India, 3.5 years to 4 years is a timeline for a patent. And this is like a starts with a Either directly complete specification or provisional and within 12 months complete specification, 18 months publication. Then after publication, request for examination 48, because you have to give that request for examination. Generally, we give it when we are giving the complete specification, but maximum timeline is a 48 months. After that examination, there is a next is a FER, first examination report, and then there will be the grant of a patent. So this is the process which is followed in everywhere, in any country you go. This process is there. 18 months is common. Um, Publication is always in 18 months only. Only the timeline for grant is different. In USA and China, the observation is like that 22 months to 24 months. It's like a 2 years. Within 2 years, patent will be granted. In India, it takes little more 3.5 years to 4 years time for a grant of a patent. So this is the scenario. Okay. Now this is something about a PCT timeline. Now what is a PCT timeline? I have filed patent in India, fine. But I want to file patent in USA, Europe, Australia, maybe 4 more countries, 10 countries. But now I don't have that much fund, and so I want to buy time. So PCT is a good way actually. So PCT keeps your priority secure, and you can file that PCT application directly with WIPO. So what is WIPO? WIPO is a World Intellectual Property Organization, which is there in Geneva, and we file PCT directly with that office. Okay. And what happened to that? What is that procedure is? Once you, within 12 months, once you file patent application in India, maybe provisional with a complete, within 12 months, we have to file the PCT application. The timeline is mandatory. If you forget to file a PCT application within 12 months, you don't have any possibility also to that conventional application is there, that is also within 12 months. So instead of PCT, you directly filing. Suppose I want to file in US and Europe. I know countries, I have a fund, I know attorneys. So immediately I can go for within 12 months, I can file the US application and the Europe application. So that is quite easy kind of a thing is there. If 2 or 3 countries are there, PCT is used when there is a more number of patents, more number of countries you want to cover, or you are not sure whether you should go for that application or not. At that time, you can go for a PCT application. And same means what happens in PCT application, you file the patent application, 12 months timeline, I have told you. Within 16 months, you will get a report from Geneva, Switzerland. Say, you will get a direct communication from Switzerland, Geneva about your patent. They will share with you the examination report kind of a scenario. That is, we call it as a international search report actually. So that international search report gives a pretty well idea about your patent means whether it will be granted or not. Actually, before filing only, we generally get that idea. How we get idea? Mandatory. I thought mandatory do patent search report before filing patent. Unless until I get a positive search report, I never go for a drafting, because if search report is negative, definitely it is not going to grant the patent. Okay. So that gauge we do already before only. Publication is international publication. It is on website patent scope actually. And it is again 18 months timeline. Okay. Additional examination is a optional thing. Extra money you have to give for that. I will. My observation is like in rare cases only people go for this option, and within 30 months you have to enter into the countries. Means if now you want to enter into say 20 countries within 12 months, within that 30 months you have to take a decision for the entry into that particular countries. So this is the kind of PCT application is there. Okay. So I again rerun this whole slides actually. You just please focus on, and if you have any query, please do let me know. This is something I talk about the examples. The Louis Pasteur and Anand Chakravarti, the very classic examples. Genentech, I have given you example of restriction endonuclease, academic institute, and they have generated a huge revenue, started the company, and Roche has then later bought that thing, and the revenue you can see in the billions actually. It's almost 50 billion kind of a scenario is there. Then I have given the scenario like academic institutes in US are like, you have to just think over that more gene products are there than the pharmaceutical companies. Okay. Then we have talked something about a property, and there is a tangible, intangible property, and intangible property, intellectual property is there, and then intellectual property and intellectual capital is there. Then types of intellectual property are industrial property and copyright, protection of plant varieties and traditional knowledge. And then there is a kind of a patents, trademarks, industrial design, layout design, geographical indication, and trade secret is there. These are the different acts which are enacted for the protection. We talk something about a patent informatics. Then we have a kind of definition of a patent, and then we have talked about the criteria for patenting. Then what are the parts of patent document like a title, field of invention, background, object of invention, summary of invention, figures, description of figures and claim. These are the parts of patent documents. Then what are the inventions which are not patentable, and we talk about section 3 and section 4 of a patent. I've shared the list of things which you can go for a patenting. I've given you idea about the two bodies in the country where you can deposit the genetically modified microorganisms or the things which are related. And then we have talked about the patent filing procedure, India timeline, and the PCT. I take a pause here, and I guess this is good enough. I want to know the queries from your side if it is there. Okay. And if you want to go a little more detail and all that thing, I can suggest you to go for the courses. Now, this roadmap for patent creation is for it covers all this whatever I have shared. I have recorded that videos that record, and therefore I ask whether it is necessary to do the recording, because all this freely available, nicely recorded videos are available. You can watch that videos freely. There are a self-paced kind of categories created in the NPTEL, um, and roadmap for patent creation is on that category. You can watch at your any time whenever you want, and then you can give the examination, and you can get the certificate for that completion of that certificate, that particular course. And there is another course that is entrepreneurship practice strategy. You can go for that registration. I don't know, probably in July there will be this course will be made available. So everything is freely available. So now I guess I should take a, I should stop. I should take a queries
Hello,
now.
ma'am.
Yeah, 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 please.
Yeah, ma'am. I must say it's an awesome lecture, ma'am. Very informative, and you have given us so much of intros about this patenting process. So, one question I have received, ma'am. So, just can I ask you?
Yeah, yeah, please,
I would
please.
like to request the answer the same. So, the question was, if any person is publishing the data regarding the formulation of a product in a journal, so once that data got published, that product can be patented.
See now, the thing is like that data and the actual product. We have to understand what exactly you are better want to better. You want to data is not patentable at all. Actually, it will give you the support to that data. Either it may be a product or it may be a process actually. So
Okay.
we have to understand that, and that process or product, whatever is there, that you are going to get a right over there. Data is supporting your patenting related product. So you have to check that case, and
फीडबैक लिंक मैम फीडबैक लिंक पोस्ट कर रहे हो ना हाँ इस पे करो
Okay.
अभी मत कर, अभी मत कर.
I think participants, if you have any questions, please post in the chat box.
So I'm seeing few questions here actually also.
अच्छा तेव्हा बोलेगा ना फीडबॅकचा तभी आप पोस्ट कर दो एंटर
Can you
मारो
discuss?
सिर्फ.
Yes, ma'am, you can answer.
Can you discuss formulating a patent and he published the protocol. Hmm. India to remain on watch list for violation of IPR. What is the special reason for the we comment on the issue of data exclusivity in the enforcement of Copyright Act.
नहीं मेरे को नहीं दिखेगा. हाँ इसलिए नहीं दिखेगा.
Um, for this, I will say that see the prevention part definitely questionable, I will say, and enforcement is always an issue. But Copyright Act, I just share the example. Awareness is proper. The awareness is there already, and when you go to the police station, police has provided that this looks
म्यूट कर. म्यूट कर तो सर.
the background music. I don't know whether audible.
Ye- yes, participants, any further questions?
I'm answering
Uh,
something, but I guess there is a
okay, ma'am.
background.
So there are no further questions we could see. Can we proceed further for the vote of thanks?
Yeah, thank you.
So, yes, thank you very much, ma'am, for answering the questions. The feedback link has been posted in the chat box. So, all participants are requested to fill up the feedback form. As we towards the end of session, I, Mr. Hitesh Gurav, on behalf of organizing team of the Department of Microbiology and Biotechnology of Patkar-Varde College, propose the vote of thanks to all those who made this webinar a resounding one. I would like to express the profound gratitude to our college chief education officer, Dr. Mala Kharkar Madam, Principal Dr. Shrikant Sawant sir, for their entire and through support. I also thank you, our chief coordinator, Mrs. Ruchita Dalvi, and co-coordinators, Mrs. Anupama Tomar and Neha Kolaso, for their moral support and guidance. I wholeheartedly thanks to Professor Dr. Gauri Gargate for enlightening us with a knowledge of patenting in biological sciences, well as taking out time for her busy schedule. Lastly, a big thank you to all the participants for participating in this session. Thanks, one and all. Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you. Thank you.
So, students, again, I would like to again request us fill the feedback form.
आपका ऐसा हो सकता है.
She left now. By the way, this is not going to be the